Think Positive Podcast.
Welcome back again to Do Now.
Think Positive Podcast.
I am FendiPendi here, your creative content coach.
And my name is Philip Tan. Today we have a special guest. Her name is Jennifer Chan. She's a veteran in the branding community. So let's welcome Jennifer.
I'm Jennifer Chan from Ramsay Brand Consultants and Bahrain. Philip and Fendi asked me to talk a little bit about myself, so I'm just going to very quickly talk a bit about my background. I am very old. I had 40 years of, to say it nicely, about 4 decades of extensive experience. I was the first woman to be made CEO of any international advertising and brand building global company in Malaysia. I was also the first to actually run $100 million worth of business in Japan. I built an agency from scratch in Taiwan. I also actually, built an agency or actually grew an agency from a fledgling office to the top agency in Hong Kong. And as we all know, Hong Kong is actually a very small and very challenging market. So there was a lot of hardship and a lot of challenges that came with it. And then I went from this company called J. Wall Thompson. I was with for 18 years across different markets to run the company here in Malaysia when I was appointed CEO of JWT.
So Jennifer, I infer from what you just explained. So brand value is so important. So what does brand value relate to a brand? So SME and young entrepreneur out there is that so if I do not have a value and do not want a value, what does it create to a brand if I do not have a value? Can you elaborate?
Actually, I don't think that any product or service can go without brand value, right? Because as I was saying earlier on, a product or a service is just a product or a service. And whatever you might have can be very generic. So the main point is, how do you differentiate? Right? So if I have a product, let's say a coffee, for example, this coffee is HWC coffee. HWC coffee, right? So HWC coffee, there's so many coffee around right now. Every mall you walk into, cafes everywhere, coffee everywhere, and everybody calls themselves artisan coffee. What is the difference between HWC coffee and any other coffee? So I have to start building value into this coffee, which is really just a coffee product. The values that I built into it, whatever those values are, has to be able to help me as a business owner to differentiate my HWC coffee from any other coffee in the shopping mall or anywhere. If I can't do that, my HWC coffee is not going to last for more than a year or two. Because everybody else try it once, try it 3 times, try it 5 times. Okay, I'm going to try another coffee. And if you're not buying into the brand or the values that the brand have, then why should I go there? I go to another coffee place because it tastes better at this point in time because they offer M&S. I go into M&S, they offer me free coffee, I know that there's certain days they offer free coffee, so the queue is very long, and it's pretty good coffee, and they give you free coffee from lunchtime to I don't know what time, right? So if that's the case, then I can go there, right? So that's why brand values are important, because it's creating a demand for your brand, making your brand lasting. The whole thing about brand building is so different from marketing and sales, because while I was saying marketing and sales is really about getting your product, with a 4Ps to the customer. Brand building is about shaping the perception of the consumer towards your product or service in a very positive, distinctive, and memorable way.
Okay, so Jennifer, what are functional and non-functional? Can you give us some example?
So, very clever. Actually, I haven't mentioned functional. Non-functional is already way ahead of me. Clever. Thank you. So when we talk about building value, so I can't talk about building value and how values are important for product or services, because it makes the product or service into a brand and therefore create long-term demand for that brand, right? So if a brand has to have values, then what are the values? So in very simplistic terms, we talk about functional and non-functional values. And to a lot of business owners, struggling with having to do so many things, focusing on selling, on my product, and inventory control. They're going to say, oh my God, what is this functional, non-functional values? What's this brand building thing? It's too airy-fairy. It isn't. Yeah. Every brand has functional and non-functional values. So, for example, because I'm older, right? So Philip is doing very well. He can read his laptop, without glasses. I can't. So just now I was going through questions on the laptop with Philip, and I had to say, Philip, let me see what is on your screen, right? I can't, so I have to wear glasses. The functional values of these glasses to help me to read. Because without my glasses, I can't read. Blind. Just cannot, right? So the functional values of the glasses are to help me to see clearly, to read properly. If I put this on, these glasses functional values still help me to read as well as those, right? And if I can't, if I don't put these glasses or those glasses on, again, I can't see properly. But these glasses say a lot more about me, something very different about me, correct?
Yes.
I look stupid, I look like twerp, what's the matter with her, what's wrong with her? These are what we call non-functional values. So when the non-functional values help to reflect on us as a customer or consumer, because when we buy it, or when we buy a product or service, or buy a brand, and when we use a brand, how does it reflect on me? This is Tom Ford. When I wear them, I sort of look like a more sophisticated, maybe a little bit classier lady about town. That's the non-functional. Functionally, help me to see properly. Non-functionally, it makes me look more sophisticated, more classier. I wear this. Functionally, helps me to read as well. Helps me to see clearly as well. But it says I'm a twerp. It says I'm stupid. It says that I'm really like something mentally not quite right about her. Okay? So that's what functional and non-functional values are. And they are important to a brand when you're trying to put values into a brand, simply because there is a difference. Functional values, as I said just now, is about what the product or service does. So whatever the product and service is supposed to do, it has to do very well. It has to perform well. No amount of brand building or advertising in the world can mask the failure of a product or service.
You don't see the value. Yes. Yeah.
So functionally, the product must perform well. So for example, if it's a mouse trap, the mouse trap must be able to catch mice efficiently.
Right.
Functional value. Otherwise, it shouldn't call itself a mouse trap.
Exactly.
Right? A pen must write. Right? If it doesn't write, it shouldn't be a pen.
Yeah.
So those are functional values. But unfortunately, because there are so many competition in the same category of marketplace, there are lots of pens that can write well. Very cheap ballpoint pen also write well. So why do I go and buy Mont Blanc pen? Right? So I'm buying it because of non-functional value. And the non-functional value is the added value that gives the product or service a point of differentiation.
Sure.
And the differentiation is important. Why? So that your customer is willing to take more money out of his pocket and pay more.
Exactly.
Now, as a business owner, if the customer is willing to pay more for my brand against my competition, it can only be good for me because it means I have more revenue, I make more profit. Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah.
So that's why having functional and the right blend of functional and non-functional values in a brand to build a brand is very important, because it really can help my brand command a premium price.
Right.
That's going to help me with being profitable, having more sales.
So Jennifer, as you know, our viewers are young entrepreneurs. Again, I have to keep emphasizing. So they are probably thinking that big company has big budgets, small company has limited budget, which is true. And why should they invest it now? They rather make money than invest in branding much later. What is your view?
Well, because I'm Chinese, Cantonese, so excuse me, I'm to say Chinese. People say 大有大做，細有細做. Okay, it doesn't mean
He doesn't understand.
sorry, Fendi. That means 係大有大做係咩啊？
Yeah. Each have their own way of
doing it.
Yeah.
So if you're a big boy, you do it in a big way. Maybe if you're a small boy, then you do
there's a
it
phrase
small.
saying that
Mm.
you don't have the big company budget,
Mm.
but you think like the big company.
Oh,
Yeah. So the only reason that the big corporations spend more money is because they've been established for umpteen years. They didn't start as big company.
Right.
Most of them started off as a small little manufacturer, but they've been around for 100 years, 200 years globally, and that's why they grew to be more sophisticated, more experienced, and therefore they had the financial resources to do what they want. So for a small or a startup entrepreneur right now, it's no point comparing with them.
Mm.
They had 200 years of
Mm.
legacy, 200 years of heritage. They had the money and the experience to do what they are doing right now to build a brand. For me, I think it's just as important for a small company or a small brand to, a small product or service to start becoming a brand. However, I believe very strongly that even if you're a small business owner, you still have to think about, building up your brand through brand values, the proper brand values. Because if you don't, then your product or service is not going to be able to last for long. As I was saying just now, there's a lot of competition. What you believe to be fantastic today in terms of your product can be copied very easily. So today you think I have a wonderful product or service here. Tomorrow your competitor could come up with something that's equally good or even better and sell it at a lower price. So what are you going to do? So that's why it is important to start creating a demand for your product and service. And that means creating a brand. Right?
So
And
important.
in order to create that brand or to build that brand, we need to have a blend, the correct blend of both functional values and non-functional values.
That's
yes,
so
but
important.
Jennifer, branding takes time. A lot of small companies, they want to make money first. I'll make money first, then I can focus on doing my brand. What do you think of that?
False economy. You see, I mean, I just been talking about it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I actually believe that it is as important, right? It is a very important component because if you do not build your brand, then how long are you going to sell what brand building is?
Exactly.
So to a lot of business owners, brand building, it's something people talk about, these big
You
boys
can wait,
talk
yeah.
about, so it can wait because
Yeah.
it's not important to me. But that's actually false economy, and that's very dangerous because if you don't start giving values to your brand, sit back and think about what my brand stands for, what do I want it to stand for, what are the values in my brand, and have the commitment to keep building on those values through the next 5 years and 10 years. Commitment to build the values are important. You
Right.
cannot change every single year. And if you don't do that, then I'm afraid that, it's not much of a brand
Right.
because you're not creating a demand for the customers. You're not creating a demand for your brand, and the customers may walk away. And also, you're not because you're not spending time to build values and to create a brand. You can't charge more, and if you can't charge a premium, you can't charge more. Then how do you make money?
Exactly.
You're going to work so hard in order to make a little bit of money. Why would anybody want to go into business like that? I wouldn't.
Yeah, you struggle.
Yeah. So if I go into business, I got to make sure that everything is in place. I have to make sure that the brand, that I create a brand that stands for something, that reflects well on the people who buy or use it, so that they continuously come and buy, because a customer or a consumer and the brand forms a relationship. Once the relationship is there, they can't keep coming back. Obviously, I need to provide them with new news, but they keep coming back because I have a relationship with them. I am the brand. I have a relationship with the customer.
Jennifer, we are coming to the end of the program, so it's time for you to shine. Can you give our young viewers some takeaways?
The only thing I would do is that I would say is that while it is challenging and while it is hard, I think each of us, when we make a decision to go ahead and start a business, we will just have to do it. And when you do it, basically, it is about sometimes not overthinking too much, not analyzing too much, not talking too much, but actually trust your instinct, trust your guts, do whatever you need to do to make sure there are less risk, and then just go ahead and do what you believe is right.